add to it before I rudely interrupted you?
Probably, but I forgot what it was. I got some more stats. Do you want more stats?
Yes,
More stats?
please.
Stats are great.
Stats are cool. So I had a look at the top 20 list of systems. I think this in terms of job count. And looking at the old top 20, the new top 20, there's a bunch of systems that have come in, and a lot of them come in from quite a long way down. A place called Ambeki, for example, was number 220 before. It's now number 2. We got Haikota from 891 to 6. Hagimo's jumped up. Akianivas.
That's crazy system name.
Akiainavas.
Yeah,
Ikami Sobaseki is up. Umoka, Frigi, Amar, because it didn't have any build facilities before. Not much of anything, and now you can build whatever you like, I think. It's probably a POS thing, actually. Ignore what I just said. Dodixie, and a nullsec system made the first entry at number 20.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah. So the 20th busiest system by job count is now at nullsec. The first one from lowsec is at 193, so lowsec still needs some polish work. But yeah.
Speaking of Amar, how has the kind of removal of slots gone? And the kind of the new system replacing it, how is that?
That was the thing I was going to mention earlier. I remember it. Yes.
Ah.
Yeah. Good work, Steve. Right. It's almost like
Welcome,
you were at the meeting where I. Almost like you were in the meeting where I explained this. So yeah, what we saw basically was there has been a increase in activity in the top 5 or so systems, like Jita job count doubled because no limits now and everyone wants to build in Jita.
Sure.
That suggests that potentially the job cost in Jita is not high enough because obviously we've lifted the lid, we weren't quite sure what's going to happen, and the lid has, or the whatever was in the thing that the lid was on is now above where the lid was. Good metaphor. In the sort of 5 to 20, top 5 to top 20 range, or number 5 to number 20 range, like the number of jobs has gone down, or at least the percentage of jobs in those systems has gone down, and then below that it's actually then gone up again. So we're seeing a rise in the very top ones, the very core systems, which is places like Jita. We're seeing and then a spreading of the sort of second tier industry systems to either the top ones or to further away. So as you get down the end of the graph, there's a small but significant percentage rise of job activity kind of across the board. So we're seeing a nice spread at the low end, but we're also seeing a lot of clustering at the high end.
Interesting. One of the things that came up because of that I think is fascinating, we're going to do a little more digging, I think, and find out about. But one of the big reasons we wanted to get rid of the cap on number of slots is that can be really prohibitive for people who want to build regardless of how much they would make.
Yes.
So there's people who are more interested in building something because it's fun to, or because they're new and they don't know better, or because there's something specific they need or whatever.
So because they mined for it, so it's free.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't care so much whether it's efficient to, but right now, even if that's what they want, they're blocked and they have to go somewhere else, or that used to be the case, that the slots would force them to go somewhere else when really what they want is to just build this thing right here. So it's possible that some of the reason that in places like Jita, the lid's gone up or whatever you were saying is that there might be people in there just building stuff that isn't actually profitable, which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to see if I can poke the data in the next couple of weeks and figure out if we can split those two populations out and find out what the sort of serious for profit builders are doing versus the less spreadsheet driven. And I guess there's a degree to which I can imagine scenarios where you're shipping out to nullsec with a 300% markup or whatever crazy thing nullsec people do these days, and an extra 5% give a shit, we'll do it in Jita anyway because it's much easier. So
yeah, it'd be fun to find out.
Yeah, there's some math to be done there. So
stats are awesome.
Stats are cool. Yeah, it's nice to see things working and things not working, and have things you can tune based on actual data. So
yeah, if there's one thing EVE players can agree on, is stats and numbers are really fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think there will be some good stats to look at after this Alliance tournament is over. I think so. There probably will be. There better be.
The best stats from the Alliance tournament always have to do with ISK, I think. It's always
they do
crazy to see how much is invested and how much is won. And
I think Exodus is winning in that regard, in losing their flagship.
Yep. Yeah. And then
poor Sir Squeebles.
Suddenly we made the leap, last year, from that kind of territory. It was this flagship was 10 bill-ish, is that right?
I think it was 20 bill or something.
Okay, but I remember we made the jump to matches where tournament ships blow up, and then suddenly the matches are worth 100 bill, Yeah,
there were a couple of tunnels last year that exploded, and some cambions, and it's Restia, which was mine, which
We
is
still
sad.
haven't seen any. The only tournament ship that's blown up in relations to the 8012 is when Bob from marketing lost his in a training match.
Yeah. He was doing some like elite piloting and kind of forgot that you have to turn on your armor
He
hardeners.
probably boundary violated in open space.
He would have boundary violated if he was in it.
It's good practice, though.
Yeah, yeah.
But hopefully we see some actual ones by the end. It's
But
getting
maybe.
to that time.
It is. It is getting to crunch time, so we should, as we were saying earlier, like when Hydra feels like their backs against the wall, when PL feel like they're in a must-win game, and it's not just PL and Hydra, of course. Like last year, we saw a bunch of different teams field flagship or field tournament ships. So hopefully, this year we'll see some too.
We will. I think it's guaranteed that tomorrow we will see some. That's when the matches, in the pilot, in the team's minds, that's when matches really, really, really count, and you must win.
What I was going to actually ask is, do you think the change in the tournament prize structure has any impact on when people decide to make those big risks? Like,
That's a really good question. I have no idea because the tournament prize structure is sort of. It was announced after the rules, I think, or maybe at the same time of the rules. So people were busy theory crafting setups and teams. And they weren't necessarily thinking of, hey, if I can get this 4 or something, I can get like a couple $100 bill worth of prize ships. So, I mean, maybe now that's what they're...
Might it change the order they bring their setups out?
That's
though?
probably, yeah, something that would happen. But I don't know. If I was making the decisions, I would always try and bling it out, especially if I was in the elimination bracket. Because all those matches are crazy hard. Like, I don't think there's a way to win.
Yeah, it would seem like winner's bracket is maybe not whatever we're calling it these days. It's not necessarily because you've got that dropout place. But once you hit the elimination bracket, then yeah.
Then you really need it. Though,
That's when
there's a thing that I think last year the meta was really benefiting these like blinged out ships. Like we saw a lot of assault frigates and things like that, which made the Cambion synergize really well. This year,
is the worm like close enough that you don't need to go all the way?
maybe the worm's
we
just
buff
good
the
enough.
worm enough?
The worm is basically a Cambion.
But I don't know, like when you looked at that PL match where the bombs exploded everything, like imagine if you had like 3 Cambions there that just instantly died to bombs. I think you would probably cry a little bit. Your Tana would blow up too. So maybe it's just too risky for them now because there's so much high DPS. Which is great for like the Alliance tournament when you see tons of high DPS setups because things go boom.
No risk, no reward.
And I know we were kind of worried. I know Back was worried that we'd see lots of Tinker versus Tinker. And
that hasn't happened yet.
Nope. We saw one Golem versus Golem,
Yeah, I was going
which
to
was
say
kind of
that
weird.
it seems like the more likely thing now is Marauder versus Marauder, where all the fleet gets cleared off, and we have a really awkward 1v1 between the Marauders. But even that hasn't happened hardly at all, just the one time. So
Yeah, we got to test our rules
yeah,
to the limit.
To get pushed to the limit.
Always pushing it to the limit. So I've just received words that the pilots are in system and they're being chaperoned into grid. So we should be ready in a couple of minutes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We are sorry for the delays, but I actually think it's miraculous that this doesn't happen more often in the Alliance tournament.
It actually is.
It may not be clear to people watching at home, but this is a pretty funny project where basically CCP Veritas just makes up a feature and kind of adjusts it to whatever's changing on TQ every year and sits at home like with a bowl of spaghetti trying to like make sure everything works. And most of the time it does.
And when CCP Rise says that it's a hacked up project, it actually means it's pretty fucking awesome and it's ready to go. Let's go into space.
Spaceship friends, welcome back to something else that is pretty freaking awesome, Galente Blaster Boats. I'm here, I'm Apothony with Sir Squeebles in the casting booth. Squeebs, tell us about what we're about to see.
You're about to see the ultimate show of bravery by pitting blasters against the Camel Empire. So Tuskers has brought a rush team composed of 3 Brutix Navy issues, 3 Demos, 2 Thorax, 2 Tyrannus, and 2 Navitas.
Yep. Camel have 2 Eos and a Neros, 2 Stratios, 3 Vexes, 2 Moles, Malediction, and a Tristan. Typically less E-War boats than we see from Camel Empire, still plenty of E-War potentially from E-War mids on the Vexes. The match starts and immediately Tuskers burn straight at the Camel team, but the Camel team as well are burning in.
And the Tuskers have dropped damage drones, so there's no rep drones on the field right now.
Wow, okay, so both teams just mashing into each other. Let's see where damage applies. We've got a huge amount of dumps on the Brutix Navies. We've got a web on the Neros of Camel. You may be able to damp teams down to very small lock range, but that's where blasters apply their damage. If you're sat on top of someone, you cannot break the lock with range damps.
And
looks like we've got damage going on the Brutix Navy of Suleiman here.
Suleiman is taking a lot of damage. He's not going to be able to tank all this, so he is definitely going to go down, but they need to trade for something. This Onero's just now out of shields. That's not enough.
Yeah,
they need to really go hard on this.
Neros is webbed, but they need to get their DPS on it.
And Suleiman's still up, briefly.
Wow, yeah.
Go, Suleiman, go!
Those Navitas are damped. He's got a Frigate Logi, which can be damped down to very, very, very tiny lock range. Looks like damage is completely split across the Camel Empire team. That's not what they want to be doing. Brutix Navy issue is going to drop. Looks like newts on everything. Looks like the drone boats of the Camel Empire are newt fit. We've got another Brutix Navy taking a lot of damage. Camel Empire yet to lose a single ship. Yeah, that
Brutix Navy issue of Latronicus went down super quick. And he might be structure tanked based on how this damage is coming in. Meanwhile, you've got Cool 4 and D and the Navitas going down. This is a really, really grim picture for Tuskers. But as you said, the split damage is killing them. They have a lot of damage going out on a Stratios of Apollo and on the Oneros, and they can't break either. It looks as if
Tuskers have just gone, pick a target, go shoot it. But that's not what we do in EVE Online. We pick a primary, we shoot the primary, then we pick a secondary.
If you're Galente Blaster Rush, you just shoot what's close to you. That's conditioning that the Galente are trained on from a young age. This Oneros is still low armor, going, and the Demos is gone. But the Oneros is still here, and he's still taking damage.
The Oneros is going down into deep armor. We see the red bar on the beautiful Alliance tournament overlay. They might pick off the Oneros, but they've already lost so many ships. They've lost so much DPS. Camel just really showing why they're one of the top teams in this year's tournament.
This was an interesting match, and these have to be hull tank Brutix Navy issues, which
I really hope so.
It makes me reconsider the definition of the word winning in the Alliance tournament, because if you come into the 3rd match in a best of 3 against Camel and you bring hull tanks, I think you're winning. But this last Brutix Navy issue is going down. They've got 2 really nicely skinned Thoraxes still left, along with 2 normal Thoraxes and the Tyrannus, which are also taking a lot of heat. And unfortunately, they just haven't covered enough ground.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I was expecting, as soon as we saw the setup, I said to you before we had the camera on us, the Brutix Navy issue, the Deimos, the Thorax, they all have 50 meters cube drone bay. I was expecting a swarm of medium repair bots to assist those Navitas, but no, it was all damage all day long, and unfortunately, between the damps and the Camel Empire piloting well, they just couldn't apply it. They couldn't apply it to one target. Reps held for ages. Finally, the Neros went down, but by then, they'd lost everything.
I also, and I think you're of the same mindset, I think we were expecting rails out of the Tuskers.
Yes, kind of a mid-range comp.
It's so rare to restrict your damage range under 10k, which is essentially what they've done with this comp. I mean, the Demos and the Brutix can project, but ideally, to make use of the hull, you have to be right on top of people.
It is very, very difficult to armor tank 250 rail battle cruisers and cruisers for Galente.
Sure,
like putting up 1600 plate and 250s on it is really, really difficult fitting wise. You have to use a fitting mod or something like that, and that's kind of suboptimal. So I kind of get why they go, well, this kind of sucks, so we use blasters, but blasters also aren't particularly fantastic. You know,
this Tyrannus could still close it out using a mobile micro jump drive technique, and unfortunately he didn't opt for that. He just died. So
still.
Tuskers. They are knocked down to the elimination bracket.
They are. They're still in the tournament.
They are, thank God. But really great performance by Camel Empire. So they've won that best of 3. And with that, we'll send it back to the studio.
these alliance.
Welcome to Wormhole Space, man. We be flying tech trees and smoking them trees. This Avowed Alliance represented by Pandora Spear and Viper Fleet Inc.
And welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm CCP Rise. We had to get rid of CCP Garget permanently after that word he said. That's actually not true. CCP Soundwave did that pretty much every day. I'm joined by CCP Grayscale, Elise Randolph, Answer Squeebles, and maybe some of you players could tell us about that match we just saw.
Yeah, that was some great commentary, first and foremost.
that was quite a
Those
thing
guys
of beauty.
they have in the booth, they know how to play the game.
Yep. But I think that was... I waffled like 5 or 6 times on what people would bring.
Quite a bit of waffling, yeah.
I did eventually get to a rush versus a control setup. And I think I got it in the right order.
So basically nailed it.
I nailed it. I am the best. And no, but...
You waffled for half an hour and thought thoraxes.
Nailed it.
That is something
a lot
I did
of things
not
around it as well, but you hit it on the way through, so it was good.
Yeah,
It was good.
Yeah. I went for the broad approach. But no, that was definitely an outside-of-the-box setup that Tuskers brought. But when you have a rush team that has not as high speed because it's an armor team, it's not like the traditional Minmatar rush that we saw a few Alliance tournaments ago that made waves. It's slower. It's hard to kill an Onirios with it because you do kinetic thermal. Onirios, I'm pronouncing it correctly, by the way.
Yeah, you bet you are.
Yeah, you are.
It has a really high kinetic thermal resist. And a really neat thing that I'm pretty sure happened, I wasn't watching on the stream too well because there's like a camera blocking it. But I think we had like tackle Vexers and tackle Stratioses. And that's why they were taking split damage. It wasn't because Tuskers don't know how to shoot the primary. It's because they were tackled and damped so far that they only had one thing to shoot.
Yeah.
And I mean, as Squeebles say, you better be shooting something if you can, even though it looks really ridiculous on the...
The unfortunate part is we didn't get to Rule 4 of My Alliance Tournament success,
Is that
which
like-
is don't bring a blaster rush.
Yeah.
So had we covered that ground earlier. But I really legitimately do think that the Brutix Navy issues were hull tanked, which might seem insignificant, but it does counter part of what you're talking about with the speed. A lot of things have been rebalanced, rigs have been introduced, where now it is actually legitimately, non-jokingly viable to bring hull tanks on certain setups, and you mitigate some of the losses from an armor tank.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not even worth saying yeah if you say it with that tone.
it's very possible they did, and that would kind of be really, really interesting. And it may have, worked had those Stratios and Vexers from the Camel Empire team not have so much tackle on them.
So just
like if they were just a pure kiting team, those blasters would be all up in their face.
You think it'd be fine? I was going to say, like, kind of to round out the blaster discussion, is there any way that bringing Thoraxes and Brutixes is actually...
I think in this meta you can do it.
Really?
I think it's definitely... I don't know if it's recommended,
Yeah.
but I think it's like viable and it's not like ridiculous at all.
Well,
All
I
right.
mean, on the one hand, it does take care of the control element, which Camel's a huge fan of. So Camel got their Molluses, but in the grand scheme of things, Tuskers didn't really care, because they were going to have to be within non-dampable range anyways.
Exactly.
But that's sort of that's like a silver lining, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, they got over one hurdle, but the other hurdle was, oh wait, the other guys also can fit scramblers and webs.
I do think there's a lot of stationary elements to the current meta. You know, we used to have Dominixes, which you could sledgehammer against with blaster setups. Right now, though, we have rattlesnakes. We have a lot of tinkers that we're seeing. We have golems. And in that case, having low range, high DPS still might not be ideal, but it can work. So
It definitely can work, but it did not for Tuskers, and they're sent down to the elimination bracket.
And we will cheer them through. I will cheer them through the elimination bracket.
But Camel will have to play PL tomorrow for the winners bracket final or semifinal, some word. And that'll be a crazy match. That'll be a best of 3. And I will lose like hair. I'll probably lose fingernails. Probably like 4 years off my life.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough on me, guys. So just appreciate that.
Sounds great. I'd love to have CCP Grayscale talk a little bit more, but I have no idea how much time we have. I don't have all the technology CCP Gargant does, but because he can see much farther, actually, he learns a lot more stuff because he's so big. But I do have bans for the next match. We're going to have Ronin Hydra up next.
Ooh,
and
sexy.
yeah, that is kind of exciting. And I believe we have Tengu Ishtar banned by Ronin, and Eos Gila banned by Hydra.
Wow, those are actually really good broad bans. Like we were talking, Tri does this a lot. They, when they're bans, they don't focus out like one setup. They take two completely different archetypes out of the equation. And you take the Gila out, you take the Eos out, and we've seen how effective the Eos can be in both shield and armor comps, actually. PL had like this crazy Eos tank that won them the match against Nully. So I think it's really smart to get rid of the Eos. The Gila, I thought nobody would ever take again, and
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I just thought everyone was done with them.
Just like
you're bored of it and you're
Yeah,
hoping
like-
that something
Well,
else.
I don't know.
as a
like-
tournament, we're just kind of over it.
No, well, actually,
So
as
last
a tournament,
week.
like people hate drones, so they're always happy when drones die. But like when you see a ship that come in the first week of a tournament, you have to assume, okay, by the end of the tournament, like everyone's gonna have that figured out. But apparently not. I guess the Gila's got like some special superpowers, or
Well, I mean, one superpower that it has, it seems like, is it can fit into a range of things. It's not like
yeah, it is very versatile.
Yeah.
Like goes with the EOS band, so I guess that does make sense.
kind of like Slipner's in past years, where
Yeah.
you'd see them early in the tournament. You might see them used a little differently later in the tournament, but it's not like they necessarily go away.
Well,
Okay.
another advantage of
Maybe.
them is they're great snipers for logic cruisers. If the other team doesn't have like a ball of rep drones.
Yeah.
So if you stick 3 Gilas worth of drones against a scimitar, there are other things you can do to help enhance the damage, but at the very least, he's going to be under pressure. Dun 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 dun. dun.
Yep. We can't actually sing more of that because we'll get sued.
That's why I did it.
I need to add a line to my drawing.
So with those bands, I mean, what would you expect to see?
Oh, I mean, I don't have a clue. I can't even remember what they are.
Hydra took, like, the last round Hydra played, because we've seen a lot of matches, they had that triple Astarte setup with rails and control. Like, it was essentially the armor version of the Damp team that they've been flying all tournament and being amazing with. But this one had 35 rep drones, which was just crazy. Crazy time.
The Tengu band from Ronin's a little interesting. Has Hydra done any, like, tinkery things at all?
I've never seen Hydra field a tinker outside of the SCL.
Yeah.
No. I mean, they did actually. They did field a shield tinker this year, unless my notes are horribly off, against Gorgon Empire.
Okay.
Possible. I'm skeptical, but it is possible.
He doesn't believe your notes.
Yeah. I do not believe
Well,
it.
He actually wrote stuff down.
Yeah.
I wrote tons of stuff down.
Yeah.
Was it
I
related
actually
to the
did write
tournament?
nailed it down a few times.
And then to which I responded, nailed it.
He did.
So
He did.
I actually noticed sitting next to you, his sheet in front of him really says nailed it. Like, I nailed it 2 or 3 times.
he even wrote nice things about the other commentators.
Yeah, no,
so
that's
that
Yeah, he has an Apotheny nailed it as well.
Yeah, that was the original nailed it, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I just call it the way I see it.
Yeah.
Quite
And they
frankly,
nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, since it seems like we have some time,
Yes.
granted, I have no idea how much, I'm going to go back to CCP Grayscale for a minute. I wish Fozzie was here so that we could be a trifecta of CCP power, but he's supporting us from over there. Is there any other subjects that the EVE community might be interested in that we're taking a look at and or thinking of discussing anytime soon?
No,
No?
I'm kidding. Yeah, this is the other thing that we had last week that I wanted to talk about. So as we said at FanFest, we pulled together, or must have been back in March or April, I guess it was at FanFest, like a small group of designers and some sort of programming support to start looking at nullsec issues in a very serious way.
Which issues?
Nullsec.
Those one, yeah.
Yeah, with the 2 zeros and the dot in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah. Full stop?
That's what they're calling dots.
Okay,
No,
cool.
it's-
With you. Okay, with the full stop in the middle. And that over the summer has kind of morphed into a bigger thing. We've been looking at, looking at things. So hey, let me step back a bit and frame this nicely, because otherwise all kinds of horrendous things are going to happen. Our point of view is that we're looking at this very seriously and we're going to do something. But we want to be very careful in this discussion, because we're talking to players and it's kind of early, to not say so little that they go, yeah, of course you are, you're always doing something soon, TM. But also not so much that people go, oh my god, they're going to ship it next week and we don't. And they're like, oh my god, you lied to us. Why did you promise us nullsec changes next week? So there's a balance to be struck here. I'm going to try and hit, but that's kind of, I think if I explain that first, then people at least know what I'm trying to do if I'm going to do it badly. So we've been looking at things and we've been spinning things up and we've been speeding things up. We had a 5-hour sit down on Friday at my place with a bunch of designers, including Ryzen, Fozzy, and Ytterbium, Betic, Delegate Zero, and Scarpia. And we had a big, long talk about various things relating to like nullsec type stuff, and SOV in particular from a long view. How do we want this to go? What are the sort of fundamental things? Like slow kind of working through the issues discussion. What we've come out of that with is, I think, a pretty reasonable understanding of where the design department feels it stands on some pretty fundamental issues. We are hoping to write a blog about this in the next month, maybe. Depends. Like, this is all very dependent on us being able to get, again, enough information that the players give a shit and think that it's worth reading, but also being sure enough in what we're saying that we don't then go and change our minds because it makes people sad, understandably. So,
and we also have the CSM summit coming up.
That's the other thing, and that's thank you, Boris. That's the thing that's kind of anchored a lot of this discussion. We sat down after everyone got back from vacation over the summer, and we said, okay, what are we doing? Because we talked about things before the summer, we had ideas, we had plans, and we were like, okay, where are we, what are we doing? And we looked at our schedule and we were like, okay, the CSM is coming in whatever, like a week and a half now or something, whatever it is.
Yeah, that sounds
sometime soon. So they've requested an nullsec session, and we want to have something meaty because we want to do something. So we said, okay, to do that, we need to be on the same page. Otherwise, it's going to be very silly if I'm arguing with Rise about what we're doing in front of the CSM. It doesn't help many stuff. So this was kind of built around that. Let's have a sit down. Let's figure out what we think about the things that the community is talking about, the things the CSM would like to bring up, so that we can, have a clear discussion about the issues rather than just kind of arguing about first principles, whatever. So, yeah, we've had that discussion. We have then things that we want to do, smaller, more like targeted things that we want to do, I would say, later this year. The nullsec related and will make a big impact, we think, without being massive changes in and of themselves, because obviously we have to finish industry stuff from Cryos. Like for my team, at least for Game of Drones, we have Cryos, sort of finishing off what we've done with the industry, getting everything squared away. Ytterbium's working on invention changes. We've got iteration we want to do. Then after that, for the main block, we are then planning on transitioning into Starbase work, laying the foundations for that. But kind of layered across the boundary there, we're also hoping to do some nullsec work in conjunction with some other teams. So we have obviously industry that has to happen. We have Starbase we want to get on with as soon as possible, but we're doing the nullsec related stuff that we can make space for. And we have made some space in our schedule to get this alongside. That will happen hopefully as the year curves around. That's vague enough, I think.
Yeah.
And then there will be additional things we want to do, like we have our eye on several later days of nullsec and other bigger things that we want to touch. Following on from that, as that settles down, we see what the impact is and we see how things shake out, and then we can say, okay, let's do the next bit. And that's obviously like you saw at FanFest, like it's on our long-term schedule. It's a big block of like fix nullsec.
So it's like a holistic view of
a
whole bunch of things just to fix nullsec.